Hi, life is chaotic enough, so your organizing really should be simple, and that includes rotating out your seasonal clothing. We want to set it up in such a way that it's not such a big chore, and that's possible when you use the ART method. Hi, I'm Susan. I'm the mother of three and a professional organizer. And having lived in more than 25 homes myself, I really do understand the challenges of changing out seasonal clothing and then the challenges of knowing where to store that clothing if you live in a small home, if you have a small closet. So I've dealt with it myself, and I have some tips for you today that should make that a bit easier. Let's get started with a little bit of inspiration for us. So today's quote comes from Winston Churchill, and it is, "To change is to improve, to be perfect is to change often." And certainly that applies to changing out our clothing with the seasons, but it also applies in really evaluating what our systems are for organizing and whether those are working well for us in our lives and ways that we could change it and make it better. So let's jump right in with the ART method. So the A is assess. And what we're going to do to start is we're going to pull out all of our seasonal clothing. And depending on your space and your schedule, it may work for you. I guess also it depends on your personality. It may work for you to pull everything out at once, or you may find that it's easier to pull one category of clothing out and do that. So figure out first what will work best for you, but let's pull out that clothing and let's really assess the clothing. The first thing I want you to do is look for items that need repairs or need to have some stain treatment done. We're going to take care of those. Next, we're going to wash any clothing that isn't fresh already in your closet or drawers. When you put clothing away to store seasonally, it's really important that it's clean clothing. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to start assessing what we're going to keep and what we're going to put in storage. You deserve clothing that makes you feel great, clothing that's comfortable, clothing that you love. Listen, life is too short for uncomfortable clothing or clothing that's just blah, just meh. So, you know that sweater you have that you put on and it's itchy and you don't really like it, but maybe you spent more money than you thought you should, and it's been hanging in your closet for months, maybe years, and you just don't wear it? Well, now is the time you assess it. You say, I'm not going to wear this clothing. I deserve more than that. I'm going to go ahead and donate it. Somebody else will love this piece of clothing. It's not for me. And what you do in that case is that money is spent. Guilt isn't helping you. Let's move it along to someone else that will love it. And you've just cleared up some space in your closet or your drawers, and you've cleared up time because you now don't have to put it in storage and then get it out next season. So make those decisions now. If you don't love it, if it's not comfortable, if you don't have another item that you can wear with it, like a blouse, do you have slacks or a skirt that goes with it? Those items need to go. It's time for them to go. Now, our fourth step in assessing. Let's say you have a blouse and you love this blouse, but you just don't wear it because you don't have, a skirt or pants that it can go with. We're going to make a shopping list. And on this list, we're going to list down, I need to get a pair of slacks that will go with the, brown and burgundy blouse. And list down what the item is and what it would coordinate with. Also list down any items that you need to replace. So let's say you found a sweater that's too pilly, you've had it for years, you love it, but it's just not, you need to replace it. So you're going to write down on your list also, need to replace black cardigan sweater that I usually wear with this outfit. Write your shopping list. You can now shop the end of season sales if that's the way that you shop, or in the spring, or the next season, the beginning of the next season, you can go looking specifically for those items. And it will help you not get distracted by yet a second blouse that you love, but you don't have slacks or a skirt to wear with. Instead, you'll be focused. Before I can buy the second blouse, I know I need to get something that goes with the first blouse that's already in my closet. So that's the A for ART, which is assess what you already have. So the R is we're going to relocate. So it's really important when you store your seasonal clothing, that you store it in a climate controlled area. And that means where there's not large temperature variations or large humidity variations. What that probably means for you is storing it within your home. I highly recommend you do not store it in an attic. Maybe a basement would be okay depending on how much humidity you find is there. And do not store it in the garage. If at all possible, try to store out of season clothing within your home. Some things that you can do is look for another closet. Maybe you have a guest room and you could store your out of season clothing, in one half or 3/4 of the guest closet, because realistically, when guests come, they usually just need a small space in your closet. Maybe you can store it under your bed. Look for places that you would be able to store that clothing that's within your home. When you're looking for containers to put the clothing in, I highly recommend against using cardboard boxes. So first of all, cardboard boxes break down, they're not sturdy. Secondly, the material of the cardboard and the glue that's used attracts pests. And you don't need pests in your clothing. None of us do. Also, as the boxes break down, then it drops, fibers from the cardboard and things onto your clothing. So I highly recommend either plastic tubs, or the number one choice would be breathable fabric storage bins. And you can find those at Walmart. You can find them on Amazon. Just look around and look for breathable ones. They're often made out of cotton. If that's not an option for you, my second recommendation is to use plastic tubs. And the reason for that is it will keep pests out of your clothing and they're easy to stack. So I know that I myself, in many of the houses I lived in, would stack. I would have 2 or 3 tubs, and I would simply stack them in the corner of my closet. You could also use the high rack, the high shelf in your closet to store them. Store them in the back, maybe under some long clothing. Look for the places where you could put those tubs. I've also had where someone leaves the doors to their bedroom open and there's a space behind the door. You might be able to store them there. If you have a large chair or couch in your bedroom, you might be able to pull it just a little bit away from the wall and store them behind the chair or couch. But look for places where you can store your out of season clothing, again, in your home. So with art, the T is for the tips I'm going to share with you now. So the first tip I want to tell you is, before you dive in, stop and assess how long do you think it'll take you to do this task and when can you do it? Because it's not helpful if you're inspired and tonight you pull all your clothes out, but you're tired and you don't get through them all and now you have a big mess. Then this discussion today that we're having is not helpful. So schedule and say, well, usually it takes me 2 hours. And you know what? I have nothing Sunday afternoon. I'll do it Sunday afternoon. Or I have such a busy schedule in the next 2 weeks, but I could do, 20 to 30 minutes each evening, and I'll just do one category at a time. So whatever will work best for you, schedule it out. Also consider, it never works out, does it? Sometimes I wish that it would be a switch that's flipped and it's warm weather clothes, flip the switch, it's cold weather clothes, but it never works that way. It's one warm weather day, one cold weather day, and it goes back and forth. So plan as you're switching your clothing out that you're going to leave some transitional items, or that you'll leave a couple of items accessible and put everything else away. As you're pulling your items out, go ahead and clean the space, because we all know we don't clean our closets very often. We don't wipe out drawers in our dresser very often. So as you take, a stack out of the drawer, look and see, do you need to vacuum? Do you need to wipe it down? Same in the closet, clean the baseboards, wipe that upper shelf. Take the time. It won't just take you a few minutes to clean out the closet or the space before you put the new season's clothes back in. Be purposeful in how you put your new season's clothing back into your closet or your drawers. I really recommend that you hang them or store them by how you use them. And that's going to be personal for you. Do you have work clothes and casual clothes? Or do you have kind of cold weather clothes and super cold weather clothes. So think about how you use your clothes and how you think of them. If you're going to look for an item or look for an outfit for a certain situation, how do you think about it? And then organize your clothes back into your space that way. Now, this is a tip that if you know about, you know it works, and if it's not one you've heard of, then it can be life-changing. So when you put your new season's clothing into your closet, hang the hangers backwards from the way that you usually would hang them. And what this does for you, you start off the season with the clothes hangers backwards. And whenever you wear an item and you take it off the hanger, the next time hang it the correct way. At the end of the season, you'll be able to clearly see which items you never wore. And this allows you to really take a hard look at, do I need to keep that item? I've never wore it this season. The other thing it does is as you're going through the season, you'll start noticing, oh, hey, that gray sweater, I've never worn it. Why don't I wear it today? That's a perfect opportunity. So it encourages you to wear all the clothing that you have, because the truth is most of us wear about 20% of the clothing we have. And it's just because we have our favorites, we go to them. When you know what clothing you haven't worn this season, then it's a perfect cue to you. Oh, let me wear it today, or let me wear it this week. And again, at the end of the season, if you never wore it, then you need to take a hard look at whether you need to pack that away for the following season. Speaking about hangers, I really want to encourage you to eliminate wire hangers from your closet. First of all, they're not good for your clothing. It can damage your clothing. If you've ever seen where you have the bat wings from the corner of the hanger, wire hangers are notorious for doing that. So I really encourage you to remove any wire hangers. You may want to save one or two, because there's always those weird tasks like snaking a toilet if you don't have a snake, or whatever tasks you need. Keep one or two hangers, wire hangers, but the rest of them you can often take to a dry cleaners and they'll recycle them or reuse them. So remove the wire hangers. Then you choose which hangers that you want. Ideally, they would be uniform, all the same hanger. And the reason for this is it's easier on your eye. It looks less cluttered. But if that's not possible for you, then use the hangers you have, and as you can, then replace them if you're interested in doing that. But the number one thing is remove those wire hangers. I also encourage you, as you're putting items back, look for items that you previously folded, either in drawers or on shelves, that maybe would work better for you hanging, and look for items that you've been hanging that might work better for you folding. So I will drop some links when we're done, but some things that I have a tip that the link will take you to on how to hang sweaters so that you don't get those bat wings and it doesn't stretch out your sweater. But if you have more hanging space than maybe other types of shelf or drawer space, you can hang sweaters. I also have some tips on how to fold jeans. So rather than folding, you can put those on a shelf or in a drawer. So consider different ways that you can store your in-season clothing that might work better for the space you have. And then the final tip I have for you is I really encourage you, when you fold items, whether it's on a shelf or in a drawer, rather than stacking them this way, file fold them this way. Marie Kondo style, maybe how you know it. And the reason being, when you have a stack of clothing, it's never the top one you want. You want the middle one. And so then you have to move the top of the stack to take the item you want out and put it back, and the stack falls over and all that. Look, life is chaotic enough. Let's make it simpler. When you file them, then you can simply pull the one you want out and the rest stay in place. So if you haven't tried this technique, again, I'll drop a link for that. I highly recommend it. It really does save a lot of time and frustration. So our goal with rotating our seasonal clothing is to make our days easier. We want to make life simpler. Don't wait till the last minute when it's suddenly cold and all your cold weather clothing is stored away and you're running around that morning and you're having to dig it out. So don't wait for the last minute. Plan for some time this week to begin changing out your seasonal clothing in a way that makes sense for your location and for your schedule. You deserve to be in charge of your space and your time. And when you plan ahead, then you have control of that space and time rather than being overwhelmed by a task that's suddenly forced upon you. So, next time, I hope you join us where we'll be talking about the tidy tip of the month. And what tidy tips are is that they're habits that if we add to our lives and practice, that they help make our life become more organized and less chaotic. So, join me in taking control of our space so that we can make the space and time for what's really important to us in our lives.